Well, thank you so very much. God bless the Jewish people. Thank you so much to the graciousness of Neely and the entire Falak family. Thank you for your kind words of encouragement. I'll tell you, I am honored to join you this evening. I'm honored to be here with my friend Rabbi Shmuley, a passionate voice for truth, no matter the consequences. I'm honored to be here with Sheldon and Miriam Adelson, fearless warriors standing for the United States and standing for the nation of Israel. I am humbled to join Elie Wiesel and his incomparable wife, Marion. A voice of moral clarity at a time when it has never been more needed. You know, we are living in dangerous times. The nation of Israel has never been more in jeopardy. And I'd like to speak with you briefly about strengthening the relationship between America and Israel yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday, in my time in the Senate, I have endeavored to stand and fight over and over again to strengthen and stand by the nation of Israel. When Israel was facing rocket attacks from Hamas, and the administration banned civilian air flights into the nation of Israel, I stood up and asked the simple question, had the administration just launched an economic boycott on the nation of Israel? The FAA didn't ban flights into Yemen, into Pakistan, into Afghanistan. They didn't even ban flights into much of Ukraine, which had just seen a passenger airliner shot down by a Russian Buk missile. So why exactly was every civilian flight out of America into Ben Gurion Airport shut down? And why was it timed to coincide with John Kerry arriving in the Middle East with $47 million for Gaza that would inevitably end up in the hands of Hamas? Within hours, the State Department was asked, is this an economic boycott of the nation of Israel? And within hours after that, the former mayor of this great city got on a civilian flight from London to Tel Aviv, Michael Bloomberg, to demonstrate how safe it was. And the light and heat and attention became too much, and within 36 hours, the administration lifted the ban on flights into the nation of Israel. When Iran named as their ambassador to the United Nations Hamid Abu-Dhabi, a known terrorist who participated in holding Americans hostage in the 1970s, I was proud to introduce legislation in the United States Senate to ban Abu-Dhabi and other known terrorists from coming to the United States. That legislation received support from senators as varied as Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham. I actually told Chuck on the Senate floor as he was speaking about it, I said, be careful, Chuck, lightning's going to strike you. That legislation passed the United States Senate 100-0. It passed the House of Representatives 435-0. And President Obama signed it into law. As a result of that legislation, Republicans and Democrats coming together, neither Abu-Dhabi nor other known terrorists can live in Manhattan with diplomatic immunity. When Hamas murdered 3 Israeli teenagers, kidnapped and murdered them, our hearts broke seeing these young boys. I was proud to join with my friend, Senator Bob Menendez, introducing legislation for the State Department to provide a $5 million reward for information leading to the capture of the terrorist who murdered Naftali Frankel. Naftali was a dual Israeli-U.S. citizen, and yet the Hamas terrorists didn't ask if he was an Israeli or an American when they kidnapped and murdered him. Their hatred was directed to Jews from wherever they come. That legislation likewise passed the United States Senate 100 to nothing. And yet, beyond yesterday is today. The single greatest threat facing the national security of Israel and facing the national security of America is the threat of Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. I've been proud to join with Senator Menendez and with other members of the Senate, standing to fight to stop a catastrophic, a disastrous Iranian nuclear deal. Today, the lead negotiator for the United States of the Iranian nuclear deal, Wendy Sherman, announced her resignation. Sadly, she did not announce that we will cease negotiating a deal that will allow Iran to keep centrifuges, keep enriched uranium, keep funding its ICBM program, keep being the leading state sponsor of terrorism. The next 19 months are going to be perilous. But I commit to you to do everything in my power to speak out and stop any deal that would allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. And then let us think about tomorrow. In 19 months, there will be a new president of the United States. Instead of a president who boycotts Prime Minister Netanyahu, imagine America standing unapologetically with the nation of Israel. In January 2017, a new president is likely to face an Iran on the verge of having nuclear weapons. In my view, in January 2017, that next president should, number one, immediately reimpose sanctions on the nation of Iran. In 2017, if Iran has not stopped marching towards nuclear weapons, that next president should transfer bunker buster bombs to the nation of Israel. And if Iran will not stop, if Iran is on the verge of acquiring nuclear weapons, that president in 2017 should stand up to the world and explain very simply, either Iran will stop or the United States of America will stop you. In January 2017, that next president should announce that America is moving its embassy to Jerusalem. For decades, political candidates, Republicans and Democrats, have talked about doing so. Enough talk. We need a leader who will act and respect the eternal capital of Israel. In 2017, we need a president who will stand and say the United States will no longer fund the Palestinian Authority as long as it engages in incitement and as long as it is in a unity government with Hamas, a terrorist organization. When you are advocating the murder of Jews, you will not receive American taxpayer money. In 2017, we need a president who will stand up and say if the United Nations acts against Israel, then America will exercise its veto on the Security Council. And if the International Criminal Court engages in lawfare attacking Israel, then America will cut off funding to the United Nations. In 2017, we need a president who will stand up directly and confront the BDS movement. BDS is premised on a lie, and it is anti-Semitism, plain and simple. And we need a president of the United States who will stand up and say that if a university in this country boycotts the nation of Israel, then that university will forfeit federal taxpayer dollars. There is power in telling the truth. Let me say one final thing. Some folks have asked, why is a Cuban, Texan, Southern Baptist become one of the leading defenders of Israel in the United States Senate? You know, I got to tell you, like each of you here, these issues for me are not abstract and academic. They're real and personal. 58 years ago, when my dad fled Cuba, he was imprisoned. He was tortured. He was beaten almost to death in a Cuban prison. Now, it was nothing compared to what Elie Wiesel and so many others endured during the Holocaust. But when my father escaped, when he came to America in 1957, when he came to this nation seeking freedom, it was a bastion of hope and salvation in the face of oppression. Following the horror that was the Holocaust, the nation of Israel was exactly the same thing to the Jewish people across the face of the globe. At the end of the day, Israel manifests the real commitment now and forever that never again means never again. Shmuley was right. This is a room of Maccabees. This is a room of fighters who have arisen to the occasion to speak the truth and recognize the existential threat of a nation of Iran that pledges to annihilate Israel. A nation like that can never, ever, ever be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons, which could be used once again, the only force on earth that could be used once again to murder millions of Jews. I am honored, I am humbled to stand shoulder to shoulder with each of you, Maccabees, truth tellers, fighters who are standing for truth. I'm honored to be with you. God bless Israel, and God bless the United States of America.